Hello, everybody, and welcome to PR News Live. My name is Sophie Merowitz, and I'm Senior Content Manager for PR News. Today, I am lucky to have Jim Nickerson as my guest. He is the lead instructor for digital marketing at General Assembly. He's also the co-admin for Club Bravo, which we'll talk a little bit about soon, which is a huge clubhouse room about Bravo TV that him and his co-host started. And we are going to see Jim in person in Atlanta next week for the Social Shakeup. And Jim will be talking about social audio, which is a big area for him, of course. And then also, he just kind of is a great source on all things social. He really has a pulse on everything that's going on in that space. So yeah, let's kick it off. Let's talk about social audio, Clubhouse, what's going on in your world and in that world right now.
That's a very auspicious introduction, Sophie. Thank you for that. Yeah, so social audio is something I fell into during the pandemic. And social audio Clubhouse is an app that falls into the social audio space. But social audio is a giant sector. There are over 40 companies right now playing in the space. We expect it to grow to about 100. So it's an entire sector. Clubhouse, of which has like the lion's share of brand awareness, because they were out during the pandemic and they had like stars coming in, and they also had like this very exclusive invite only structure for a while. And for the communicators and PR people that aren't aware, that are watching this right now, social audio and apps like Clubhouse, it's sort of an app. It's listening only. There's no video. And you get to sort of join rooms and have conversations with people from around the world about topics that you might enjoy. So there's great newsrooms. There's rooms about sports. There's great mental health rooms. And there's rooms about reality TV. And that's where I met my friend Dave Quinn in New York, who's an entertainment journalist. And we fell into a room like talking about housewives like last February. And it was just the two of us when the app was smaller. And we've continued to talk about reality TV, but now we have about 12,000 people in our Club Bravo group that like to listen and talk about Bravo TV with us. So that's the short pitch, I think.
How kind of participatory would you say? I mean, when you have like the ability for everybody to join the conversation, but also a room that's that large, how do you kind of keep things interactive and social?
Yeah, it's really interesting. There can be giant rooms, like the rooms that the founders still run every week, the town hall. It's amazing. The two founders still in person do the town hall. Those rooms are huge, and that's like a one-to-many. They'll take questions through the back channel, and you're not expected to have a lot of people come up. Our reality TV rooms are anywhere from 100 to 250 people, and we have people that come up and interact. There also have them all social rooms and semi-private rooms where people can go and just have more interaction. Something I found during the pandemic, and something I talked about in the article that I wrote a couple of weeks ago for PR News, is there's been this path of what has happened to social audio since the pandemic had us all in lockdown to today. And something I was doing during the pandemic was I found myself listening to the social audio apps when I was walking the dog or doing the dishes. And it had sort of replaced my listening to podcasts. Recently, it has replaced my listening to actual newsrooms. And the interesting thing is, if you'll let me go into this a little, I think that for marketers right now, I think a lot of PR marketing people are aware of social audio apps in Clubhouse, but I think there was a bit of a shoulder shrug. I think there was like a question of, well, the vaccine is here and it's summer, and like I'm not home 8 hours a day, so I'm not going to be on these social audio apps. And I think a lot of people sort of wrote them off, but I don't, that's not what the numbers tell. We have every one of the major social media platforms coming out with their own version of social media platform: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. The list goes on. And also the numbers that just came out of Clubhouse, people open over 700,000 rooms on Clubhouse every day. And the average listener today still listens to Clubhouse for over 65 minutes a day. So I think there was this huge excitement during the pandemic. There was a drop off, but I think the social audio sector has firmly sort of cemented itself as a new social media platform that is different than Facebook and Twitter. Your plans for Facebook and Twitter don't port over to social audio, I don't think. And that's something I look forward to talking about next week in Atlanta.
Yeah, I was
About
just
what,
gonna
yeah.
move to that. So yeah, tell us about what you're going to be sharing and your special guest, and kind of what you're thinking for next week. Give us a little sneak peek.
So we're super excited to come to Atlanta. Dave and I are coming. So here's the funny thing. Dave and I, we work together every day on Club Bravo, and we've never met. So we will be meeting for the first time on the keynote stage in Atlanta, which is crazy. And so Dave and I are going to tell the story of us at Bravo. And it's really the story of the accidental creator. Dave is an entertainment journalist, that had a Twitter account, but wasn't big into TikTok. And I'm like a B2B tech startup guy. I'm a marketing guy. But we found ourselves during the pandemic, falling into this social audio space and becoming these accidental creators. So we're going to tell the story of how we grew to be in this place on Clubhouse. We're going to actually do a live demo on stage of a Clubhouse room so everybody in the room can see. We will definitely be bringing in some special guests from the Bravo cinematic universe to talk to us through the app, possibly some housewives, possibly some people from Top Chef. So we'll do a live demo of the app. And then the last part of our hour keynote is going to be Dave talking to Tanya Sam. Tanya Sam is not only a real housewife of Atlanta, but she's very, very big in the tech incubator scene in Atlanta. And she's also an investor in Clubhouse. So we are really hoping to give people in Atlanta a full hour of what social audio can be like. And we'll also be doing a breakout session later that day, talking about the different platforms.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the more I'm talking to social media professionals and marketers in the Atlanta area, the more it's starting to feel like such a hub of social content, of influencer marketing, of Black influencer marketing specifically, and it's just becoming a really cool culture hub. And as an East Coast girl myself, I'm sorry, Jim, I know you're a West Coast, but it's cool to see. The East Coast getting some of that action that LA has had. Kind of, it's been like the social media hub for so long.
It's funny, when I saw the lineup for Social Shakeup, the thing I was the session I'm most excited about is to see Keith Dorsey from Collab Crib, correct?
That's right.
There was a great Hulu, New York Times thing on Hulu that talked about how hard it was for Keith and Collab Crib to start as Black creators in Atlanta. And I was transfixed by the story and the narrative, and it really left on a cliffhanger. This was several months ago. It really left on a cliffhanger, and I was like, what has happened to Keith and all the Collab Cribs kids? And so I'm super excited to get updated on that. I think they speak on Wednesday, and I'm totally looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this idea of the TikTok house, it's interesting because it's definitely got a parallel to the reality TV world where you've got this Truman Show situation where you're really just seeing behind the scenes. But it's also like an in-house agency. It's like they're all kind of working on each other's content and providing feedback and amplifying each other. So yeah, I mean, I know he started up another TikTok house and is just working with a lot of local brands. He'll be talking to the head of marketing at the Atlanta Hawks, which was one of the campaigns that that they partnered on, talking about how you kind of bring in some kids who are used to watching all their content on social media. How do you get them involved in something as arcane as sports? You know, like so that should be really interesting.
Yeah.
But kind of sort of moving into a different area of kind of regional social media trends, let's talk a little bit about social media legislation that is happening right now in Texas. Right, there's legislation in the mix to stop social media from deplatforming conservative voices, basically, right? So how realistically is this? Is this really going to change things for people who produce social media content? How likely do you think it is to pass? Tell me what you think and give me any background, because I'm certainly not the expert the way that you are in the social media world.
Sure. I've talked to you guys at PRNEWS a lot over the last couple of years about big tech and regulation, way back to the last couple of years. And, back then, I was saying, regulation isn't necessarily a bad thing. And what's happening is at the federal level, there are, some signs that the federal government is really going to start to step in and look at the big tech platforms. A couple of those sort of signs are the FTC is now headed by a woman named Lena Khan, who is very well known for her antitrust feelings around this stuff. And I think Alvaro Bedoya is up for consideration to be her number 2. He's very big in the facial recognition movement, and that it is really big on privacy. So, I think my sense is that the big tech platforms, they're getting ready to sort of look at what regulation might be coming down the pike. I think Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, they all have different things that they can be sort of looked at for. It's 4 different companies with 4 different aspects. There was just a ruling today in China that some people are saying are sort of is a harbinger for what's going to come in the U.S. But this Governor Abbott, state level social media rule where Governor Abbott signed into law a rule that social media companies cannot bar people based on what their point of view is. Right, and that's a gesture law that definitely meet that will definitely meet a lot of court. There'll be court battles on that. So for social media professionals, I don't think you need to worry about changing what you're doing right now. But it just goes to show you that there's been this slow boil on regulation around tech, and there was a lot of lip service around it recently, but these new people at the FTC, and I think that this new administration is going to carefully look at how they can demonopolize these big tech companies, and I think it'll be done in a fashion that's slow and steady and measured.
Well, you think about it, it's kind of just like, who really is on Facebook's side right now? I mean, you've got the government, which is kind of, it's been the Wild West of regulation. It's been unable to kind of stop companies like Facebook and Google from swallowing up all of the competition. And also, it's so hard to understand because there's so much behind the scenes, especially if you are a brand advertising. And for years, you've had, as much transparency as you could have into where your ad dollars are going and how people are being targeted. But there is like a lot of algorithmic mystery. And, for once, is it possible that Facebook might not be holding all the cards to your business and to your brand? So I think I can kind of just see like everyone kind of gleefully watching from the sidelines a little bit right now.
A little bit of Schadenfreude, right? I think that you and I have talked about this. Like, the thing with Facebook is it's this like, if I talk about Facebook or brands a lot, Facebook's one of the few brands that has low trust value as an end user. But for those of us that advertise, that can see the back end, and how we advertise, it's an incredibly potent tool. So for people that might be listening, we sort of get to see Facebook from both sides. Like, I don't trust it, and I know it's an algorithm, and I know I'm in an echo chamber, but as an advertiser, it's great for my dollars. And let's face it, Sophie, Facebook, these huge platforms keep making money quarter after quarter after quarter. So as much as we want to talk about how we don't trust the platform and how I'm going to take a digital detox, these platforms now report to shareholders, and the shareholders are happy.
Do you ever feel, though, like as an advertiser, there are some numbers or some audiences or some lookalikes that kind of, are creepy? Like you know that you have that data, but like you also know that the process of collecting that data is like a little bit like maybe ready for some regulation in that way that you were describing Khan's new potential person under her.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes to an organization's brand values. And, I think the CMOs of the world are looking at, where am I spending my marketing dollars and my advertising dollars? And how, and if an advertising platform is effective, how are they getting that data? And I think it's a valid question as businesses look more towards corporate social responsibility, more towards being responsible with the dollars that they spend.
Yeah, I mean, around this time last year, I was talking to Abba Blankson at the NAACP, and she was leading a campaign to boycott Facebook advertising.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the only power companies really do have is their ad dollars. And it really struck me as kind of like these two sides. There's like you can kind of boycott or fight the brand with your dollar, or you can fight them in the courts. And right now, like kind of neither strategy seems to have really moved the needle yet. But I think you're right. This presidential administration, this federal administration seems to be on a bipartisan level approaching monopolies in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. So I think the next few years are going to be really interesting in that tech space.
And I mean, if I can wrap this back around to sort of the creator, and how we define a creator and their growing influence in the space. So, a creator for me, or what I used to think of as a creator, is someone who does like TikTok dances, right? And that's just not the case anymore. It's the name of our session, the Accidental Creator.
We're creators right now. We're broadcasting.
Everybody's a creator, right? And so there is this sense of the creator economy. And whereas these big platforms like Facebook and TikTok, they were taking a lot of money from brands. A lot of the news right now is around these platforms taking these huge caches of money and dedicating them towards creator programs to pay creators to make great content for the platforms. So Facebook has dedicated $1 billion to get to creators, to put money to fund their creations, to put that content onto the platforms. LinkedIn just today announced a $25 million tranche to put into money into the creators' pockets to create stuff for LinkedIn. Spotify Green Room is paying their creators on contracts. So you're seeing money move because people, the two big things, and we'll talk about this next week, is like, who's a creator now? We're all creators. Whether my friend down the street, I live in San Francisco, my friend down the street in his apartment, he used to own a bakery. Now he bakes on Twitch, right? And he has a huge following. Dave and I create a space each day, several times a day, for people to talk about reality TV. And there's a lot of money moving towards that space. And to take it a step further, as we talk about the future of work and people in employment, there's a lot of data out there that says people are choosing not to go back to traditional employment and instead try to become creators in this space. They're following the money and that they don't want to go back to 9 to 5. So creators in the creator economy is something I think that needs a revisit, and something we'll talk more about in Atlanta, because I think it's it's just sort of a next big it's a next big wave as we sort of talk about marketing for brands and professionals.
Now, if Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn have kind of the direct contracting and the dollar hold over the influencers, where do brands come in? Does that mean the sort of premiums that they're paying per post are going to go up? Does that mean brands are going to have to find some new inroads toward kind of ambassador-based marketing?
Right. So we are very a la minute, to steal a Top Chef cooking analogy. We're right there right now. Like, the big challenge for these platforms is to get money. Like, they haven't quite gotten the monetization down there yet. They're making a dedication of big resources, but, like, very few of the people that are seeing the checks. It's just, we're in the moment right now. And so I know that some of these platforms are building partnerships with brands to bring those brands together on with the platforms to work with the creators to build this more sort of user-generated content that more people are going to want to consume. So it's almost like there's a new player in the mix, in that these creators who for so long created content out of love for what they were doing, it was something they were passionate about. Now and they were doing it for free, and brands and platforms are taking advantage of that. Now they're trying to build the infrastructure behind supporting the creator, because creator content, versus branded content, as we know, is much more compelling for people.
Right, absolutely. Well, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that, and we'll meet again some folks who are really on the ground working with those creators. You guys, of course, but also Keith Dorsey with TikTok House. I'll be moderating a panel on influencer marketing as well. Definitely a huge kind of, I don't even want to call it a trend. It's kind of just like an overarching, dominating presence in the social media world. But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to next week, Social Shakeup, September 22nd to 23rd. If you are in the Atlanta area, or happen to want to fly down there, we're all going to be masked. And yeah, it should be a really great kind of getting back together with the marketing peers and the PR and communications folks who use social media. Looking forward to seeing you there, Jim, and looking forward to seeing all of you as well.
Really looking forward to it. Thanks, Sophie.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye.